Most people spend their whole lives reading around the edges of the biggest questions and never actually face them head on. These five books don't let you do that. Together, they form one continuous argument about what a human being is, what a moral life costs, and whether love can survive the worst the world throws at you. The one at number one is the most read, most debated, most avoided book in human history. And the reason people avoid it tells you everything. The one at number three has been called the most honest map of anxiety and temptation ever written in English. And the one at number four contains a single chapter that has shaken the faith and the doubt of some of the sharpest minds in history. Number one, the book that forces the most important question you will ever face. Most people treat the Bible as a cultural artifact, something that shaped history and handed us useful words like justice and mercy. That is true, but it is the smallest thing true about it. The Bible is 66 books written across centuries, unified by one message: the redemption of sinners through Jesus Christ. When you feel guilt, when you long for justice, when forgiveness feels both necessary and impossible, those are not just inherited ideas. They are echoes of a moral law written into human nature. And Scripture does not let you stay comfortable with that. It confronts you with the fact that you have broken that law. The problem, it insists, is not society. The problem is sin. That is why the center of this book is not moral instruction. It is salvation. The Gospels do not present Jesus as merely a good teacher or a historical figure worth studying. They present him as the Son of God who came to seek and save the lost. The Psalms do not just model emotional honesty, they press toward a desperate need for mercy from a righteous God. Ecclesiastes does not simply meditate on time and loss, it exposes the emptiness of life lived without God at the center. Every section points toward the same conclusion: you cannot save yourself. No amount of effort or self-improvement closes that gap. That is why this book belongs at the top of the list, not because it built Western civilization, but because it forces the most important question you will ever face: whether you have been reconciled to God. Number two, when a society turns cruelty into entertainment. Sound familiar? Here is a scenario that should feel uncomfortable. A disaster hits a city. The government is under pressure. Instead of taking responsibility, someone in power picks a minority group, blames them publicly, and sells their suffering as a spectacle. That is the plot of Quo Vadis, set in Nero's Rome in the 1st century. But it is not a history lesson, it is a mirror. The novel follows a Roman soldier named Vinicius, who falls for a young Christian woman named Lygia. At first, his idea of love is possession. He wants her the way a conqueror wants a prize. The story forces him to confront what that kind of wanting actually does to a person. And as the political crisis tightens, fire, panic, scapegoating, mass persecution, his choice becomes unavoidable. The title comes from a scene where the Apostle Peter is fleeing the city and meets Christ on the road. He asks, "Quo Vadis, Domine, where are you going?" The answer sends him back. That moment reframes the whole novel. It says that fidelity can be stronger than fear. This book matters today because it shows exactly how a culture loses its conscience gradually through entertainment, comfort, and the easy habit of looking away. And then, all at once. Number three, your inner life has a map, and this book drew it. Imagine you are going through a genuinely hard season, maybe a job collapse, the end of a relationship, or just a long stretch where your own mind feels like enemy territory. Every morning, you tell yourself you will push through. Every night, you wonder why you are not further along. That exact experience is what this book turns into a physical landscape. Written by John Bunyan in the 1670s, The Pilgrim's Progress follows a man called Christian who leaves a doomed city and tries to reach a better one. Simple concept, but the genius is in the geography. His first obstacle is the Slough of Despond, literally a swamp of fears and doubts that collects in the lowest places. Then comes Vanity Fair Marketplace, where everything is for sale: reputation, friendship, identity. The price is always the same. You give up truth and get belonging. Then the darkest section, Doubting Castle, ruled by a character called Giant Despair. And here is the brilliant psychological move. Giant Despair does not torture you. He argues with you, he makes quitting feel reasonable. That is why this book still works nearly 350 years later. It gives your worst mental states a name and a shape. And once you can see them clearly, they lose some of their power. This is the most honest map of anxiety and temptation written in English. Number 4. One family, one murder, one question that could break you. Picture this. You have a friend who is brilliantly clever, funny, deeply cynical, and completely unable to commit to anything, because underneath all the cleverness is one belief: nothing really matters, so why bother? That friend is Ivan Karamazov. And Dostoevsky spends 800 pages showing you where that belief leads. The Brothers Karamazov is a murder story on the surface. A corrupt, selfish father is killed. 3 sons are possible suspects, each representing a completely different way of being human. Dmitri is raw passion and guilt. Ivan is the intellect that has argued itself into moral paralysis. Alyosha is faith trying to remain honest in a world that keeps punishing honesty. The philosophical heart of the book is a single episode Ivan narrates called The Grand Inquisitor. It asks whether human beings actually want freedom or whether they prefer bread, certainty, and someone else to make the hard choices. It is a genuinely terrifying argument. And Dostoevsky does not answer it with a counter-argument. He answers it with a life. Alyosha, who chooses love as an active practice rather than an abstract ideal. The book's most memorable line is the simplest: do not lie to yourself, because self-deception, Dostoevsky insists, is where every moral collapse begins. That line alone is worth the reading. Number 5. History only makes sense if you stop blurring the lines. Here is a habit that is almost universal in modern life. Someone gives you a big, complicated subject, religion, history, human nature, and they explain it by making everything a little smaller. Humans are just animals with bigger brains. Religion is just early science. Myths are all basically the same story. It sounds sophisticated. G.K. Chesterton thought it was the laziest possible way to think. The Everlasting Man, published in 1925, is his argument that the human story has 2 genuine shocks in it, 2 moments that do not fit the smooth, gradual narrative. The first is the fact of the cave. When archaeologists found the earliest human cave art, they did not find a slow drift from animal marks to human symbols. They found extraordinary, deliberate paintings evidence that something happened, something that looks like an eruption of mind, not a gradual slope. The second shock is the arrival of Christianity, which Chesterton argues does not behave like one myth among thousands. It behaves differently. His most practical line is this: the best way to produce an outline of history is not to rub out the lines. That matters right now. We live in an era that rewards smooth, gradient thinking. Everything evolves. Nothing is truly unique. No event is really decisive. Chesterton says that is not wisdom. That is erasure, whether you agree with his theology or not. This book is a sharp cure for fuzzy thinking. 5 books, 1 argument: that human life has weight, that love is not optional, and that honesty with yourself and the world is where everything else begins. So here is the question that matters. Which of these 5 are you most afraid to read, and what does that tell you? If you found this useful, you are in the right place. This is Top 5 Explained. Hit subscribe and stick around because we have a lot more videos like this coming that are absolutely worth your time.